Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're dialing in from. Welcome and thank you for joining. So my name is Phil Billiard. I'm the Training and Technical Director for Energy and Technical Services. I've been with the company for 15 years. And I also head the Energy and Carbon Savings team, which is predominantly focused at delivering ESOS energy management systems and energy management practice in general. I'm joined by two colleagues, Io and Cash, and I'll pass you over to Io to do her introduction.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Io. I'm one of the team leaders at ETS. I've been with ETS for about 5 years. So it's nice to see everyone on the call to kind of bring this webinar to you. I am also one of the lead assessors for ETS as well, with a background in low carbon consultancy, ISO general energy management within the organization, supporting different industries. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Io. And over to you, Cash.
Welcome everyone to our exciting event. My name is Kashif Magiz and I'm the UK&I Partnerships and Alliances Manager for Spacewell. With nearly a decade of experience in the smart buildings, IoT and energy management sectors, I've had the privilege of working across various verticals and sectors worldwide, driving business transformation and decarbonisation. So get ready for informative and engaging session.
Thank you, Cash. So on the agenda today, as you would have seen previously, we are discussing ESOS Action Plan requirements, how to develop your ESOS Action Plan, ensure that the energy saving measures are progressed with a remote monitoring tool. This is Spacewell and Cash's area of expertise. Just a little bit on best practice for ESOS Phase 3 and following the actions, and a quick glimpse of what ESOS Phase 4 looks like, and then we'll sum up with a question and answers session at the end. So a little bit about Energy and Technical Services. We are a performance-based consultancy, so we basically support our clients with energy intelligence, energy data management, asset management, sustainability, occupant well-being and environmental comfort, and portfolio management, which could be anything from energy consultancy or engineering consultancy, boots on the ground, surveying, undertaking audits, and also implementing energy and carbon saving technologies. The advisory side of our business is the team of consultants, as I mentioned. So we've got a team of consultants consisting of 3 departments, which is the energy management team, which IO represents, also the energy engineers who are responsible for the boots on the ground, the guys that understand the technologies that are installed in our clients' premises and how to get the best out of them. We've also got a data team that provide us all the data services and a data hub, so that we're able to monitor a wide range of energy data and sources to make informed judgment on behalf of our clients and provide them with access as well. From an advisory aspect, we offer support with net zero incentives and taking you on the journey, providing gap analysis on net zero, providing planning and budgeting forecast for not only CapEx, but also energy initiatives and funding, and also returns on investment and value forecasting. From a solution deployment perspective, we provide engineering solutions, again, energy conservation measures and deployment, monitoring of return of investment predictions, and customization to suit our clients' applications. And also we witness testing and commissioning to make sure that everything's done as it should do. From a design perspective, we make sure that we're building performance specifications and designs that match the needs of our clients and make sure that everything's delivered on time, in time, within budget, and yielding the right energy savings. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Just to move on to the next thing, which is basically about the ESOS Action Plan. We just wanted to give a bit of a background on how this all started, just in case there are a few people that are new to what ESOS is about. So ESOS has been we've had different assessments. We're currently in the third phase, and this has been ongoing since 2014. And in 2021, the government did some consultancy to kind of see how we can improve on the ESOS and how to sort of make it more standard, better, in terms of encouraging organizations to take forward steps with their actions. So the consultancy was completed in 2013, which is when the final guidelines for ESOS Phase 3 were released. And part of the requirements for that was for organizations to now produce an action plan, which they need to report on annually. And this is leading up to the Phase 4 assessment as well, or phase of the assessment. Following on from that real quick, so why the need for an ESOS action plan? We just put in some general statistics to just show that globally, we find that only 18% of people, on average, have actually adhered to the recommendations from energy audits, and only about 14% of companies are actually taking forward steps towards reducing their carbons or aligning with their carbon targets. And we definitely know that a step towards reducing your energy is also a step towards reducing your carbon. And obviously, that's where we want to be by 2030. For most organizations, we want to kind of obviously get to that point. So we can basically see that having an ESOS action plan is important. So we have been involved in the ESOS action plan since phase 1 with different organizations. We've covered data centers, we've covered manufacturing plants, general offices as well. We've done retail. We've also covered a lot of schools and councils as well. So we have basically gone through the different phases of the assessment leading up to this, and it's been a nice improvement to see how we're advancing, especially with the action plans now. And basically what's required. So we've talked about the phase 3 assessment, which obviously started, the phase 3 period was from 2019 to 2023. That deadline was extended to September 2024, obviously with the changes that were now required in phase 3. But the deadline for the ESOS action plan, which is supposed to be this year, so 5th of December 2025, there has been an extension to the 5th of December 2024. There has been an extension to 5th of March 2025. And for me personally, I feel like that's for organizations that we see that haven't actually complied with their ESOS. So there are still a few organizations who probably didn't know that they were supposed to comply with the phase 3 of the assessment, and they've been given some time to do that. So if you've already completed your ESOS assessment, obviously is forward thinking to have started to put some action in place to actually adhere to those recommendations. You don't necessarily have to use the recommendations from ESOS, but it's just basically to show that organizations are forward thinking, and there's that push to want to save energy. So like I mentioned, there is also going to be the annual reporting. So there's the annual reporting 5th of December 2025, and there's the annual reporting 5th of December 2026, and that's leading up to the phase 4 of the assessment. And in the phase 4 of the assessment, you would obviously need to report on the actions that you've actually taken forward, and that you've said that you're going to do. So the key challenges that we've identified over time, so decarbonization targets. So obviously, like I mentioned, there is this push obviously for our carbon reductions as well, and reducing your energy also means that you're taking forward steps to reduce your carbon. And a lot of companies have set targets that they are not adhering to. So part of the recommendations for ESOS is that your action plan doesn't only need to be for ESOS, but it's nice to make sure that you're including your strategies, you're taking forward steps to include those plans. Another interesting thing, or you can call it a challenge, but it's also quite interesting, is the energy intensity matrix that was included in phase 3 as well. For ETS, for example, it's always been part of our audit process to always do the intensities, but it was now a requirement to report that for ESOS. And on one hand, it's good because we're trying to standardize the process across industries, so that we can create a benchmark to compare. On the other hand, obviously, different industries will have different metrics. So it depends on what's feasible for your organization. But it's just a way for ESOS to start to forward thinking, create a benchmark that can be used to set standards. Another interesting thing, which is also a challenge, is the energy saving tracking, because over time organizations have been more interested in just the tick tick box exercise. So more like, okay, I'm going to do my ESOS. And again, we see that with companies that have not adhered to their ESOS, and obviously still looking for data to do that. But basically, it's interesting that now with the action plans, we're going to see more organizations tracking their energy use. And I think that's one important thing that we're going to see in this phase, because it's not just reporting on your action plan, but it's also ensuring that you're tracking those savings. And then again, back to the action plan requirements, like I mentioned, not every organization was doing that. As part of ETS, it's part of our audit process to always ensure that we include an action plan log anyway, because apart from the action plan just being included in the ESOS, like I mentioned, is sort of like creating a bridge between all the different requirements that are already existing. For clients that did have ISOs, initially the ISO 50001, which is another route to compliance, a lot of those organizations would have already had an action plan in place, or would have some sort of risk and opportunities register that they were adhering to, while clients that were just about the audit process would just have had their recommendations. So it's nice to see that gap being bridged, and basically having those action plans in place now. Another challenge is the feasibility assessment. So again, a lot of recommendations will come out of your ESOS assessment, but not all of them might be feasible for your organization to carry out, which is why ESOS doesn't, there's no penalty basically for that you have to take every action that has been recommended. As an organization, you need to ensure that those actions can actually be done. And obviously as ETS, we can also support you with that. But that's also one of the challenges that we found coming out of ESOS, because you have all these great recommendations, but there's no resource to do it. There's no responsible person to take it on. And then the next thing is the need for half-hourly data. And this is very important. It definitely is a challenge in the ESOS assessment as well, but I see it being something that might also be a challenge by the time we come into the action plan phase. And that's because a lot of companies still rely on manual data. A lot of companies still rely on billing data, which are all good because obviously you need your invoices. But there will be there will come a time where there's that need for granularity. For a lot of larger organizations, it is part of the building regulations to have submetering in your buildings, at least about 90%. Based on I think it's TM39 guidelines, but it's important to have that. But there's no restriction to basically monitor your energy use, and it will help you by the time you come to identifying trends, identifying opportunities for saving within the organization. So. Okay, so the steps for the action plan based on EA, the EA's guidelines, you need to obviously report what you need to do to reduce your energy use, when you want to do it, whether it was recommended by ESOS or not. So like I mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to come from ESOS. If clients that do have ISO 50001 can report that as well, or if you have to adhere to like CCAs or like, and even just company targets, you can also report that in the ESOS action, your ESOS action plan. Yes, you need to also record what energy savings you're expecting to achieve within the next 4 years leading up to the phase 4. And you also, over time, on the annual reports, you also have to report actually what you saved as well. And you have to also record how these savings have been estimated. So the EA has released a guideline or template for the action plan. And now I just want to mention that this template is specifically for reporting online. So for those that completed the phase 3 of the assessment will realize that the EA also released a sort of template to support organizations with reporting online. But I wouldn't say it's the best template for recording, because part of the guidelines for the ESOS action plan also states that you need to keep records of how these estimates have been achieved. And also it's not a template that will be feasible for every organization to share within the organization, basically with the directors or with those that are actually responsible for taking these actions and making sure that those are recorded. So that's just something to bear in mind, and which is why we feel like most organizations might need that support. So coming to how we can support you, like I mentioned, so at ETS, like Phil mentioned, we do have a large range of teams that do different things, and part of that is also ensuring that what actions you do select that you want to take forward, we are keeping track of those actions, when they're being done, how they're being done. You need to obviously take into consideration what you've estimated will be achieved and actually what you're going to achieve. And obviously we have Kashif on the call, which is going to obviously take you through the actual monitoring of your energy, which is obviously very important. Most organizations do need that support, especially when you have different people doing different things within the organization, and each person is responsible for a specific action. Then there's that need to making sure that everyone is aware of what they need to do as well. And I think one important thing as you move forward with your action plan is that you're actually reporting this, because it's more than just saying, okay, we've done this, but there needs to be that record of the good things that you've done. And I think that's really where obviously companies would have that competitive advantage once you're recording, okay, this is actually what we've done. Maintaining that action log, making sure that you're keeping your records is quite important. ETS, we do have an in-house template that, like I mentioned, that we do use for some of our other clients, and we've been using over time, and we've improved that obviously to accommodate for the changes in ESOS, because ESOS would expect you to report on the different categories. If that's building or that's transport or processes, you would also need to account for that. And then the last thing is obviously, because you're monitoring your energy annually, for companies who do need to report for streamlined energy and carbon reports, or even in any extended scope reports, we can also incorporate that into your reporting as well, which I think is a nice way to tie it in so that you're not like double working basically. So that's also another way to be forward thinking about your reporting and how you want to adhere to ESOS. It just makes the process less stressful, and also makes sure that you're basically reaching your company targets for your energy and your carbon. So like I mentioned as well, like, so I think I've gone through this pretty much in ways that ETS can support you. And I think the main thing is always to remember that once we've gone through this process, it's the company's responsibility to make sure that they are reporting online, and the director is signing off where he needs to, and he's actually aware. So apart from just having a director sign off, he also needs to make sure that the people responsible for taking those actions are aware as well. And that's just where we can support you, just to make sure that you're ticking off the boxes, you're doing the right things, and you're also hitting your targets as you want to. So. All right, I'll hand over back to Phil.
Thank you, Aya. So obviously, when you've undertaken an ESOS audit and you've had your site surveys, as Io alluded to there, you get an action plan, you get a list of actions which can be strategic, or they could be focused around certain initiatives or given assets within the organisation, depending on the portfolio. Surprisingly, some of these are quite reoccurring. We'll all be familiar with the technologies that are listed there, and what they can do for organisations. But as I say, it's a mix between strategic actions and energy initiatives and reduction of waste that goes into the action plan. And part of that process, so when ESOS was first formulated, the whole plan of the ESOS was that it was, as the name suggests, energy savings opportunity scheme, but it's largely become a matter of compliance. Now, the action plan reporting and the annual obligation to provide feedback on actions taken takes that into the realms of an energy management structure and practice, which is great for the client, albeit it's a cost of consultancy, but it's a cost that should be far outweighed by cost neutral services and the savings that you're going to achieve. Drawing your attention to LEDs, obviously, as I said before, you'll be familiar with those, but you could save anything from 30 to 50% of your energy associated with lighting, going from contemporary to LED. Again, pumps and HVAC upgrades, reducing your fan speeds on variable speed drives by 10% can lead to about 20% of savings. And anecdotally, quoted by the Carbon Trust, by dropping temperatures by 1 degree C, you can save comparably 10% of your associated energy cost. Importantly, though, what I'd like to focus on is energy behaviour and change, BMS implementation, and monitoring and verification. They're all key aspects for an organisation, and you'd be surprised on just how much the impact of people's activities on site and how they use assets and buildings has an impact on energy, and similarly how they are controlled. It's massive factors on reducing waste within the building. And a key aspect is monitoring and verification of all these processes. So everything to do with the energy conservation measure is proving the concept. So if we've promoted the replacement or upgrade or intervention of various energy conservation measures, it's making sure that they deliver the yield that we've proposed, which provides you benefits in reducing your carbon, reducing your operating costs, and obviously energy. Thank you. A key aspect for presenting energy conservation measures is making sure that the benefit is realised. There's two fundamental, there's a number of processes, but two fundamental processes in representing energy savings. One is in simple payback and one is life cycle costing. Now, the difference between the two is clear. It's the break-even point between your investment versus the revenue that you start to see in regarding simple payback calculations. And that quite often doesn't give you the whole story. So life cycle costing is particularly useful when you're looking at larger capital expenditure projects, or if you're comparing one technology against another against the business as usual case. Life cycle cost analysis is particularly good at providing you a way forward which technology to use. Similarly, if you're going for a business case or in the public sector decarbonisation scheme, similar, you will need to follow a similar process to demonstrate what the life cycle of that asset is and the yield over a period of time. So life cycle costing, both systems have their limitations, but I would suggest that for larger capital projects, you should be undertaking life cycle costing. ETS does a mix of both. If it's simple, basic rule of thumb calculations on energy savings in simple payback, then we will list those. But if we're promoting a major plant replacement, in example, then we would promote this through a life cycle costing analysis. Thank you. Over to you, Kash.
Thanks, Phil. Right, thank you for the detailed overview of the ESOS Action Plan. Now I would like to demonstrate how the Spatial Energy platform can be a key enabler in executing that plan. With its robust energy management capabilities, our platform not only helps you monitor and analyze energy consumption across your assets, but also ensures compliance with ESOS by identifying energy saving opportunities. We streamline the data collection process, track your progress on identified measures, and provide real-time insights to support decision-making and drive meaningful energy efficiency improvements. So just a little bit more about Spacewell. We are a partner of ETS. We belong to Nemetschek Group, which is a German-listed company, and they are the second largest software house in Germany. As one of the leading corporate groups worldwide, Nemetschek Group covers the entire life cycle of the building with its smart solutions, from planning and build stage of the building all the way to manage and operate. And Spacewell is within the manage and operate segment of Nemetschek Group. A bit more about Spacewell as well, that we have 2 million users worldwide, 100,000 connected buildings, and it was founded in 1989, and as you can see, we do have other solutions as well on top of energy management, but we'll focus mainly on the energy management and how it's going to help you with the ESOS compliance. Some of the clients already using the platform, as you can see, we've got clients in all the verticals and sectors out there actively using the platform. As a leading organization, Verdantix have also classed us as leaders, and they've placed us in the leaders quadrant for energy management. Now we'll focus on the platform side. So typically, as you see, there are different types of buildings, different types of metering in place. So with this platform, it's a hardware agnostic platform. So that means you can bring in data from any source. We have 500 native integration as well. But if it is anything other than them as well, we can bring in data from any source. It doesn't really matter because we follow the industrial standard format to bring in data from electricity, gas, water, and also you can bring in air quality data as well if required. There's also an option to bring in virtual weather stations for degree day analysis, etc. So that is also integrated already. So just by putting the postcode in, you're able to choose the closest weather station to start analyzing that as well together with energy. And that helps with the regression analysis to identify the baselines. We also have an option of manual uploading. So if you have data in Excel file and the automation of data is not feasible, so you can literally upload the data and you can start doing the analysis on that. Now, once we have data in the platform, it's time to visualize your consumption with our advanced analytics to identify energy saving opportunities. Spatial Energy offer a powerful analytics tool for deep data analysis, allowing identification of energy saving opportunities. So, but literally a few clicks, you'll be able to identify the areas which require improvement. You have an option to do custom dashboards as well, which makes it easy to track energy consumption trends, which aids then with the continuous monitoring as well. There's also automated processes in place as well to do data collection and analysis, which again increase productivity and also reducing operational costs by minimizing errors and manual tasks, optimizing efficiency. There's also an option to do data quality checks as well, because accuracy of data is really, really important. So that's where we have a module called data quality, which basically checks your data, makes sure that it's accurate, there are no gaps. That again helps with the data completeness and frequency. Now, as Phil and I talk about measurement and verification, we have a specific module which is as per the IPVMP protocol, where you can quantify energy savings. So if you take any energy conservation measure, it could be any behavioral change, it could be upgrading lighting, it could be changes in the schedule rotas of AHUs, HVACs, anything, any energy conservation measure, or it could be even energy efficient machinery, or it could be, installation and deployment of renewable energy sources. Anything you do that after that you want to see, the before and after, if that investment has made any difference or not. So we have a specific module, measurement and verification, which can help you to do an automatic baseline within the platform. Once the baseline is created, then it will compare that with the actual consumption in real time. So you can set a target that with this energy conservation measure, it will help you to save, let's just say, 15% of energy. Then you can track that in real time and you can see every day if you are meeting your target or if it requires any further improvement. This module as a whole, it supports continuous tracking of ESOS Action Plan. So you can have multiple action plans in there and you can track them in real time. Also, we have various options to visualize data within the platform. So you can set up KPIs for different stakeholders within the organization. It could be sustainability related, it could be financial related. So you can track all the KPIs within the dashboards, within the reports, and it cannot be automated as well. You'll be able to get monthly, weekly, quarterly, yearly reports. If you're embracing renewable energy sources, again, to meet sustainability goals, that can be tracked within the platform as well. And it offers advanced analytics, which supports informed decision making. Now, you also want to stay in the loop in terms of setting up alerts. So if you go over and above certain thresholds, it could be energy threshold, it could be cost threshold. So you can set up alerts and you'll be actively informed if there's any alarm, etc. So there's that option as well. We have a number of different alert options, things like threshold, cost, no data even alert as well. So you can set them up and you'll get notification as if there's any breach. And also these can be these are fully configurable as per the user needs. Now, this is again, this is a step further now to help with the continuous monitoring. So this is where we've introduced an AI algorithm called Optimize within the platform. So this is where the platform will help you to detect anomalies automatically. So rather than somebody hunting for the anomalies, it will detect them. It's a real-time system. It will send immediate notification about any significant changes in energy performance, ensuring quick response to emerging issues. This also serves as the first stage of identifying faults and initiating corrective actions. So it will give you a lot of information in terms of what could be causing them anomalies, why you're consuming more. It takes into account things like historical data, local holidays, weather data, temperature, humidity, and then it creates a, a, a graph, and then it compares the actual consumption with that, and if there are any anomalies, it immediately notifies you. Now, the last thing on there is the reporting side. So we have a streamlined process for data collection and report generation for various stakeholders. So it provides real-time insights through customizable dashboards to regularly review and make informed decisions. The dashboards are fully customizable with drag and drop widgets. You can access these dashboards, reports anywhere with any internet connected device for continuous monitoring. There are some options in terms of you can choose pre-defined templates for reports, so you can create a custom report as well as you like, and you can then add further information or any suggestions, comments along with that as well. So that's with the reporting side of the platform. So with the spatial energy platform, you'll have the tools to seamlessly execute the action plan that ETS has just outlined. From detailed energy monitoring to actionable insights, our platform simplifies compliance while helping you achieve real measurable improvements in energy efficiency. I hope this has provided a clear picture of how we can support your resource journey, and I will now pass it back to ETS for any final thoughts and next steps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kash.
Okay. So just to follow on from that, it's just the need for, like, because I've mentioned ISO 50001 a few times, and just basically like that's an alternative to your ESOS audits, but it's also good because that process also incorporates, like I mentioned, like the risks and opportunities registers that you need to do, corrective actions, and that basically all goes into your action plan as well. But it was interesting to point this out because obviously, like I mentioned again, like what the EA is trying to do is basically to bridge the gaps and just to make sure that companies there isn't any gap basically in the process, and reporting is as efficient as possible, and companies are actually implementing these actions for energy savings, because that's ultimately our goal and what we want to achieve along the way. And then just the next step. So like I mentioned, we do have some ISO clients, and then we also have clients that we've done the energy audits for, and your co-op, Mid-Counties Co-op, is one of the clients that we've done the audits for. And during that audit, so basically they are in the food and retail category of businesses, and they've got businesses in the mid region of the UK, and businesses that cover food, childcare, travel, energy as well. For the audit, we basically identified the sites to audit based on their footprint, and then we audited 7 sites that had the highest, basically. And from those 7 sites, we were able to identify over 300,000 kilowatt hours in savings and over 70,000 kilograms of CO2 in savings as well from the assessment. So we identified a few things from lighting to control, HVAC and metering, and most of these have already started to happen. For example, like lighting is already part of a big rollout to switch over to LED for the food stores, for example, and we're already seeing improvements on that as well. And Mid-Counties has also taken a forward step in their controls as well, to sort of improve on that, making sure that in the wider rollout that's happening with RDM as well. And I think one thing that's really big push again, like I mentioned, is the metering, because obviously you want to take you want to be able to identify those good savings that you're seeing on site, and we'll obviously hopefully start to see that more as we go on. So that graph there is just an example of one of the sites that we identified, and you can see that the low trends are basically following the audits that we did. Another thing that people might ask is, okay, how can I take action on my behavior change? And we can do that for you at ETS by basically reviewing behaviors. Just making sure and seeing how people react to, for example, it can be as simple as having a signage in the stores, for example, and just seeing how people improve their energy use and basically take forward steps. So these are just some of the easy things that you can do, basically to meet your actions or save energy on site. So that's just what we hope to see over time. So another glimpse, just a quick glimpse into the phase 3 and phase 4. As we've seen the changes in phase 3, and I feel like organizations should be prepared to see these changes in phase 4. So we've already seen, obviously, with the de minimis being reduced to 5%, and we're going to obviously see that in phase 4 as well. We've spoken about the intensities, and obviously we're going to have that. So the idea of having us collect those intensities is that we'll see sort of like a standard in phase 4, but obviously organizations have to also think of what's feasible for their businesses. ESOS reporting, we've seen that improve over time, so we're still going to see that in phase 4 as well. And also one thing that we need to know about the action plans, like I mentioned, is that these action plans are not just for just to be collected. They would need to obviously be shared with subsidiaries and those that would actually be putting forward the actions. Another improvement from phase 3 that we might see in phase 4, like we've mentioned, is the actions, and these actions would need to be reported in phase 4. So phase 4 will be looking back on the actions that have been taken forward, and they would be reported in that phase of the assessment. So another change moving forward, like I mentioned, is to have those targets aligned, energy efficiency, additional data and information that has been requested to be included in the phase 3, like your energy management, any government initiatives. So in phase 3, one of the things that we noticed was that a lot of organizations were not really taking advantage of some government initiatives, for example, but it was now a requirement of ESOS to include that, and we'll obviously see that again in phase 4. So just to get companies aware of what they can do to obviously improve on their energy efficiency. Sampling method as well is something that was in the consultancy questions to improve for phase 3 that didn't get moved forward, but that might also be one of the changes in phase 4. And just to track back a little bit on the de minimis, it's also important to know that if we're taking forward action plans for building, for example, it's important to know that if you're able to reduce your building use and not do anything about transport, your transport might end up falling out of de minimis for companies that probably didn't have to do anything on transport or did their transport in phase 3. So just to get companies forward thinking on what phase 4 is going to look like and how they can basically be more efficient as time goes on. So yeah, just a summary. Like I did mention, 5th of December is the submission date for the action plan, which has obviously been extended to the 5th of March, but the EA does advise that if you can submit on the 5th of December 2024, you should. I personally feel like 5th of March is for companies who missed the deadline for the ESOS phase 3 assessment and have been given some time to submit that, and also because of that, they now need extra time to submit the action plans. And obviously, now is the time. Your phase 4 journey has started. Your phase 4 journey started 6th of December 2020. It's going to started 6th of December 2023. So you're already in the phase 4 journey. So it's important to start being forward thinking of how you're going to basically report by the time you get to phase 4. And obviously, as ETS, we can support you with that moving forward. So over to you, Phil.
Thanks, Aya. So we expect probably to see ESOS morph over the years as well, and probably different iterations as we move towards sort of international and UK obligations for climate change and carbon reductions. So we're right at the forefront of understanding what's moving forward. Taking it beyond ESOS and beyond energy management systems and practice, for forward-thinking companies, we would encourage you, if you'd like, to log onto our website and go onto the Net Zero Tracker. This gives you advice on next steps in moving towards science-based targets and how your organisation can align and support. What this provides you with is an overview based on some simple questions that are answered, and then that's followed up with a half-hour consultancy discussion point with one of our team. Thank you. Next slide, please. So why ETS? I'd like to think that you've got a flavour of what we're about. We've basically got an end-to-end process. We've got 3 teams, as I mentioned before. We've got our energy management team, the energy and carbon savings team. We've got our energy and engineering team, which is the technical services team, and we've got a controls and automation team, the building technologies team, interlinked together. That has all the major facets for managing a building effectively and operating the assets correctly and ensuring that we can identify and reduce waste. Underpinned by that is essentially a data warehouse and a data team that provides us with a significant insight into various different data sets to provide us with informed judgment and give us the information that we need. So that's us finished now. Thank you once again for joining us, and thank you to my colleagues Io and Cash for presenting.